In a small town gripped by racial tensions, a shocking incident unfolded one icy winter's day. As the snow fell thick and bitter, a group of white police officers confronted a lone black man, demanding he perform push-ups on the freezing ground. Their voices echoed through the frosty air, punctuated by taunts and jeers. But what happened next defied all expectations. Years later, that very same man returned to the force as their chief. How did this transformation occur? What events transpired to bridge such a stark divide? This is a story of resilience, redemption, and the unyielding spirit of one man against a backdrop of systemic injustice. Join us as we unravel the journey from oppression to leadership and discover the power of second chances in the face of adversity. The man at the center of this story was Marcus, a quiet but determined young man who had lived in the town his entire life. Growing up, he'd learned to navigate the unspoken rules of a community divided by prejudice. That cold winter day was meant to be just another routine walk home, but everything changed when he encountered the officers. They pulled up beside him, their faces cold as the snow beneath his feet. Marcus tried to keep calm, but their mocking demands cut deep. What could he do? Refusing might escalate things, but complying meant swallowing his pride. As he dropped to the ground, shivering with each push-up, Marcus burned with anger and humiliation. Yet even then, something within him refused to break. This wasn't the end for him. It couldn't be. But how did Marcus rise from that moment to become the very symbol of justice in his town? As the days passed, Marcus couldn't shake the humiliation of that moment in the snow. The officers' laughter haunted him, but so did their power. It wasn't just about the push-ups. It was a stark reminder of how little control he had in a world that seemed designed to hold him back. But Marcus wasn't the type to dwell on defeat. Instead, he channeled his anger into action, setting his sights on something far bigger than revenge. While the town buzzed with whispers of what had happened, Marcus began studying tirelessly, immersing himself in books about law, leadership, and justice. He didn't tell anyone about his plans. Why would they believe him? Meanwhile, the same officers who had humiliated him carried on with their routines, unaware that their victim was quietly laying the groundwork for something that would change everything. But as Marcus worked in silence, others began to notice cracks in the system, sparking questions that would soon collide with his own journey. Years passed, and Marcus's dedication began to pay off. He earned a degree in criminal justice, then quietly joined the police academy. It wasn't easy. Every step felt like climbing a mountain while carrying the weight of his past. He faced skeptical stares and whispered doubts, but he refused to quit. Marcus wasn't just trying to join the force, he was on a mission to change it from within. Back in the town, the officers who had humiliated Marcus were still patrolling the streets, their behavior unchanged. Complaints against them quietly piled up, but nothing ever seemed to stick. People in the community grew restless, tired of a system that seemed built to protect those in power. Rumors started swirling about someone in the academy, a local kid who had faced injustice and was determined to make a difference. Then, one day, Marcus walked back into the precinct, not as a victim, but as a man with authority. The moment his name appeared on the roster for chief candidates, the officers who once mocked him realized their past actions might come back to haunt them. As tensions rose, the town held its breath, waiting to see if Marcus could confront the very men who once tried to break him. As Marcus settled into his role as chief, the weight of his new responsibility hit him hard. This wasn't just about proving a point or seeking justice for himself. It was about rebuilding trust in a fractured community. But just as he began making strides, a startling discovery threatened to unravel everything. An anonymous tip led Marcus to a box of old case files buried deep in the precinct's archives. As he flipped through the reports, a chilling pattern emerged. Complaints against the same officers who had humiliated him had been quietly dismissed for years, their actions shielded by a corrupt network within the department. The deeper he dug, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about bad cops. It was a system built to protect them. As Marcus prepared to confront the officers and expose the truth, he received an unexpected warning. Someone from his past, someone he thought he could trust, was working against him. The day Marcus decided to confront the officers was tense. He called a department meeting, laying the files on the table for everyone to see. The evidence was undeniable: years of misconduct, abuse of power, and cover-ups. As the room fell silent, the officers involved exchanged uneasy glances, their confidence crumbling under the weight of their exposed secrets. But just as Marcus began outlining the consequences, one of his trusted deputies, someone who had supported him since his appointment, stood up. "This ends now," the deputy said, but his words weren't in Marcus's defense. To Marcus's shock, the deputy revealed himself as the final piece of the puzzle, a key player in the network of corruption. The tension peaked as Marcus stood his ground, refusing to back down. With the support of a community he'd worked so hard to rebuild, Marcus made his move. The officers, along with the deputy, were held accountable, and the town finally saw the system begin to change. As Marcus walked out of the precinct that day, he paused, looking back at the building where his story had begun. Justice had been served, but the fight wasn't over. And with that, Marcus resolved to ensure no one else would ever have to face what he had endured. In the months that followed, the town began to heal. Marcus led reforms within the department, ensuring accountability and transparency. He brought in new officers who shared his vision of fairness and integrity, working tirelessly to rebuild trust with the community. People who had once felt ignored or mistreated by the system started to see real change. And for the first time in years, hope began to take root. Marcus never let the power of his position cloud his purpose. He knew the journey wasn't just about his personal triumph. It was about creating a legacy of justice for future generations. Looking back, Marcus often thought of that snowy day and how it had shaped him. It wasn't just a story of redemption. It was a reminder that even in the face of injustice, strength and perseverance could lead to transformation. And in his heart, Marcus knew he had truly come full circle.